because you've been doing some great breakdowns. You call them the Fantasy Rorschach Test over there at NFL.com, where you're kind of harping on the old psychological test with the ink blots and, how do we see them? Are we seeing the right things? And so far, you've broken down DeAndre Swift and J.K. Dobbins. And I'd love to first start with Swift, your first guy that you break down. Before we get into these guys, though, anybody out there that's willing to give this a like, thumbs up, retweet, shares, all that good stuff to help us get out to more people, it's so greatly appreciated so we can continue growing what we're doing over here, Wolfpack. So thank you so much again for those of you tuning in or catching the replay. If you consider you like the content and consider giving it the thumbs up, it would be greatly appreciated. But moving forward now, the Fantasy Rorschach Test with DeAndre Swift. Where did this kind of idea come from anyways in the first place? And then maybe dive into Swift and what you've kind of found while you were examining him.
Yeah, it's funny. It was a thing that we talked about on our podcast last year, myself and Michael F. Florio, that there are some guys out there that you sort of see what you want to see in them, right? And it's sort of like, you look at the ink blots and you see something, and then, you have some professional tell you like what that means or whatever for you. Yeah. But there were a handful of guys out there where it just felt like, there was a debate over them and people kind of had staked the claim one way or another. So DeAndre Swift happened to be one of those guys going into the offseason. People loved what he might be able to do in that Detroit offense. I think talent-wise, I don't think anybody debates his ability. It's just the situation that he was in. And, on the one hand, I think people looked at him and said, well, look at what they have in that offense. Why won't they lean on DeAndre Swift and give him a whole bunch of opportunity? And I think, that's certainly one way to look at it. But the other way, the way that I'm sort of leaning right now is the Lions haven't done anything to make me believe that they want to load him up as a true workhorse. They bring in Jamaal Williams in the offseason, and you have Anthony Lynn, the new offensive coordinator, basically saying, I see Jamaal Williams as an A-type back, a guy who can sort of do everything. Plus, we've seen what Williams did all those years in Green Bay. He was a good player. He was very productive for the Packers for all those years. So that automatically thing's going to take away from Swift's opportunities. Now they've got a quarterback in Jared Goff who really wasn't big on throwing to the running back during his times with the Rams. So you wonder how that's going to affect Swift's already potentially limited targets to begin with. Then, throw in the fact that this offense really just might not be very good this year. And if they're not scoring points, if they're not moving the ball, then suddenly that puts a cap on what DeAndre Swift can be. I still understand people who were taking him maybe late second, early third round, just because of the running backs out there, especially at that tier. He's going to get a ton of work. He's going to get a ton of opportunity, but I do feel like it might not be as great as people want it to be. I really do think Jamaal Williams is going to have a big role in here. So for all the excitement and all the hope that a lot of people have for DeAndre Swift, I'm going to be, Buzz Killington and pour some cold water on it, because I'm not sure that it's going to turn out as great as people want it to be.
Yeah, it's such a tricky balance. As you say, the talent is so real, but the team is just so gross. Jared Goff, as you say in your article, the second fewest running back targets the last year or two to the position, which does suggest it couldn't be as crystal clear as some might think. They did vacate, though, 360 targets, which 64% of their workload, 243 carries as well, which was 66%. So there is so much up for grabs that even if Williams does have a role, there could still be enough for him. But yeah, I'm with you. I actually find myself landing Williams in almost every draft I do. If Swift falls like the late third, of course I'm going to take that shot. I mean, in games where he had 12 or more carries, he averaged over 21 fantasy points per game. That would have been the running back 3. And it doesn't seem like it's that tall of a task to ask 12 or more carries. But then again, if they're always playing from behind, there is such a interesting balance. But I have seen him falling to like late third now, which at that point, the upside really is there. Deuce Staley also recently just said, we could maybe make this guy a 25, he's your feature player, give him 25 plus carries a game. But he also said the same thing about Miles Sanders last year. We saw that worked out. So I don't know whether to believe a word that comes out of his mouth or not. I get what you're saying, though. You can see it however you want. And there's a bunch of narratives to be made. I love if he's fallen to mid-round 3 or so. But other than that, yeah, I'm not taking that top of the draft. I love the receivers there, Darren Waller, just the surer bets. But there is certainly a narrative that Swift could finish top 5 as well. What is up, you fantasy wolf? Thanks so much for tuning in. If you haven't already, share your thoughts in the comments, check out some more videos, and join the newest Wolfpack by subscribing below.